In this video, I'll be describing how the characteristics of doughs change based on the types of flours that are used. The differences arise from different amounts of protein in the flour, as well as different composition of gluten and gliadin. About 3.5 tablespoons of water have been added to each bowl and will now be incorporated for approximately 30 seconds using a fork. After incorporating the water into the flour for approximately 30 seconds using a fork, these are the results. The 00 flour seems to have almost formed a full dough ball and is quite sticky. The cake and pastry flour is quite similar, fairly sticky and mostly formed. So the bread flour is very crumbly still and has not really formed a dough ball. It has clumped together in some spots. Then the white all-purpose flour, fairly similar to the bread flour. After kneading each dough ball for approximately 3 minutes, these are the results. The 00 pizza flour, very pliable, stretchy, breaks eventually. You can see very soft dough. Then the cake and pastry flour, a bit more firm, but still fairly stretchy, pliable. Others still fairly soft. Then the bread flour, very dry, pretty brittle, very tough dough, hard to pull any bits off. Tears rather than stretches. See the difference between it versus these two. Even when torn, these don't really tear, they stretch a lot more. See the difference? And this just tears really and is very dry. And the white all-purpose flour, probably between the cake pastry flour and the bread flour in terms of consistency. It's still pliable, but fairly firm. Some elasticity, but not compared to the pizza flour, the 00 or the cake flour, but more elastic than the bread flour. For another comparison here, this is the extent that each dough ball was able to be stretched when one hand was placed on each side of the ball and simply pulled until it broke apart. You can see here the degree that they stretched. The bread flour not really stretching at all. The all-purpose very, very slightly. Cake and pastry flour did stretch a little bit before tearing, and the 00 pizza flour stretched significantly more than any other one before tearing. This table summarizes some of the key differences between the different types of flour used. So as you can see, hard wheat tends to have a higher protein content, and this allows it to have more of a gluten forming ability. This results in doughs that have a very strong gluten network and a more like chewy crumb. That's why it's used for things like bread. Whereas soft wheat has lower gluten than hard wheat. It means it's better for more delicate things like pastries and cakes. It also has a smaller grain size, which means it feels a lot smoother and more powdery, whereas hard wheat it feels a lot more granular.